Right, good afternoon, everyone. Am I audible, everyone? Not audible.
Yes, yes.
Right. Okay, we'll begin with the session. Uh, if you have any doubts, the exams and all work just done. So if you have any questions or anything to clarify, please go ahead and ask us. We'll see if we can resolve all of them.
Ma'am, actually, I have a problem in a discourse marker.
Discourse marker. Okay. What's the question?
Um, Ma'am, let me see.
Sure. Meanwhile, anyone else, if you have questions, please ask yours.
Ma'am, actually, I am not able to find the, but I have a problem in a concept of discourse maker.
No, so if it's a conceptual clarity that you're seeking, then discourse markers, as the name suggests, they're usually used in conversations uh, for various purposes, right? So they're called markers because they mark, say, the beginning of a conversation. Sometimes it marks the end of a conversation. Sometimes it's used to add something to what you are already saying in a conversation, or to deviate from what you were saying in a conversation, right? So that the different markers that we use, they used to allow these kind of deflections and deviations while you talk to somebody, right? So I say talk to somebody because there are different kinds of discourse markers, right? So there are discourse markers that we use in speech, and there are also discourse markers that we use in writing. For you people, we haven't included the discourse markers in writing. So the ones that you have are only the ones which people use in day-to-day conversations, right? So for example, say you have something like a marker like well, right? Just leave some of them in the chat for you. Well, right? This is something that usually people use as a conversation initiator, right? So, or when they want to add to something that they've already understood from the previous conversation, right? Similarly, you have something called I mean, right? This is I mean is also a discourse marker in speech. So I mean is also it can be used in both ways. It can be used to clarify your statement and can also be sometimes used to begin your conversation, right? So when used as a beginner or an initiator of the conversation, these phrases don't mean too much, right? They don't literally have any meaning. You use them as what we call as fillers, right? So, like, the word that I am using, the words like, okay, or words like okay, or words like right, or all right? And something like right? All of these are examples of discourse markers. So they don't directly participate in your conversation, but they help you fill the space. So if you want to take a pause and think about something, then these words act as fillers. Sometimes they also do the function of initiating the conversation, ending a conversation or adding clarity to your sentences, right? So these are all small particles that help you bridge your conversation with the other person, right? Same things we have in writing also, but they are a little different. In speech, we use the ones that are just listed in the chat, right? There are many more, but I do not remember all of them right now. I don't have a list of them in front of me, but I've just given a few which I could recall from the top of my mind. Right? There are several more. So look at the lecture clearly, and I think it should be okay for you to understand it from there. Okay. The lecture very clearly demarcates. It gives you various classifications and various purposes where different markers are used. So I think please revisit that again. And if you still have any doubts with respect to its use, then write to us. I think for the time being, this should be enough. Have you understood what it means, at least for the time being?
Yes, ma'am. But it can be used in any sentences or at a beginning or end. Yeah, midwin.
Beginning and end is one use, right? But see, understand speech markers or discourse markers, they are fillers, but they have their functions, right? So not everything. Like for example, a discourse marker like I mean is not something which is commonly used at the end of a conversation. Or to end a conversation, you don't use a discourse marker like I mean. That is usually used in the beginning of conversations. And discourse markers like is again a filler which comes in between the sentences from one sentence to the next. So in that sense, it's not like a initiator per se. Okay. So some of them have very clear functions. Some of them they're a bit fluid. They can either appear in the beginning or to mark the end of a conversation, right? So look at that carefully. Please listen to, conversations in English. Make it a habit to watch English content more and more of informal contents, okay? So that you can get an idea of how these discourse markers are used in real life situations. Please do some practice with that. Listen, practice includes listening here.
Okay, ma'am. But exclamatory word can also be a discourse marker.
No, there is nothing called an exclamatory word, right? They are expressive words. They are not discourse markers. Discourse marker is a different category.
Okay. Okay, ma'am. I got it.
Sure. Okay. Any other questions? Anybody? This was from English too. Anybody from English one? Any questions? You guys, any other questions that you have?
No, currently I have no any other issues.
Okay. How about others? English one? Anyone from English one? No? Those who have joined just now, if you people have got any doubts, please go ahead and ask them. So with this discourse markers, can you give me a few more discourse markers, which maybe the ones which you use commonly? Any idea on that?
Sorry, ma'am, please repeat.
No, this is a question for everyone. I'm generally asking what are the discourse markers that you commonly use? Okay, some of the ones that I mentioned, I probably did it are not the ones which you use on a day-to-day basis, but can you suggest a few which you think you use while you talk to others? Just for everyone, just not for.
Okay, ma'am.
Yeah, you can, but others should also try. No, you don't use any discourse markers.
Something like I
Uh,
mean and like, ma'am.
Like, yes, like is the most common discourse marker, especially among the youth. I think many people use the word like,
I think
even when it is not required. Mm.
more, moreover, and however.
You say moreover and however when you speak. Nice. So there are also discourse markers, but this discourse marker is usually again, there's no strict rule about this. Usually you'll find it in more of formal settings, so say in writing, or if you say giving a formal speech somewhere, then maybe moreover and however does figure in. Um, but I am talking about something that's used more in an informal or a semi-formal discourse. Say at a meeting, or say when meeting, as in say when you go meet with your senior at college, right?
The phrase
Uh,
I mean, ma'am, I mean.
Yeah, I mean, yes, definitely. That's one. You telling me that one word which I keep hearing all the time when people
Ma'am,
talk.
on the other hand,
On the other hand, okay. And if you use on the other hand, then probably you're quite a formal person. Uh, it's a very commonly used word, actually, and also the word basically.
yes,
I
ma'am.
hear a lot of people use the word basically and actually when they talk. There'd be nothing basic about what they're saying, or in actuality, there'd be nothing in it saying. But then people are so habituated to use those words that every now and then the conversation is peppered with actually, basically. Okay. So
Uh,
basically, what I was saying is basically this is what I mean. So sometimes to clarify their stance, or to sometimes to reiterate what they are saying, to emphasize on what they were trying to say. So the same word is used for different functions in the conversation. This one, I think, and also the one that you mentioned, Varun, I guess, like, right? Like is it's just it functions like noun, verb, adjective, and everything. It's used everywhere, every now and then. Again, the major purpose would also be to clarify, but like as a discourse marker, which is used to clarify or set out an example, is like a more recent one, right? It's not been many years that like has figured in the conversations. If you look at the speech, say 10 years back or so, you won't see the use of like as much as you see now. Now it's used for all kind of discourse markers, especially amongst the youth. Um, so yeah, these are I think the most commonly used ones. And then of course I mean, um, you know, right? And all right, all of them, yes. And I think also, so you're saying, right? Again, uh, these are all very commonly used discourse markers these days. At least if you pay attention to the conversations now, especially the social media conversations, if you are active, which I'm sure most of you are, and you'll see a lot of markers like this. So the best way to get a hold on the current or the present or the ongoing discourse markers would be to read social media, right? So instead of just dumb scrolling, you can also like look at these things, right? How people converse, what's the language, what's the register they use while they talk to each other on social media. This should give you some clue about how discourse markers work in speech. We're not bringing in the writing part right now because even if we do, we don't have a way to test it. So this should help. And this is very commonly the material to understand this and acquire this is very easily available to you, right? All of us use social media. So take a look at all of those and see how people converse. I'm sure there are more which I am unaware of because I don't spend too much time on social media. You will know. Okay? Uh, there are also markers of proficiency, by the way. Okay, so don't take them lightly. Someone who's able to use discourse markers, which is more current, would be considered more proficient, more experienced user of the language. So as far as language learning is concerned, you can take in the bits and pieces from anywhere, right? Especially when it comes to informal speaking. So it's okay. Right. Others, any other question? You people don't seem to have any question, even post quiz sessions. I hope you've done well for the exam. That's the case. How did you find the test book? Hey,
Ma'am,
you want to say something? Yeah.
I face problem to access a learner of PDF from Google Calendar. I sent request for many weeks, then they didn't accept me.
You
Can you?
don't want access through request access through Google Calendar. You can directly go to the dashboard for the course and go to the supplementary tabs section of the in the dashboard, and you can access all the materials there. For that, you
But
don't have to send
they are
request.
randomly arranged, but I didn't able to find them. They are not arranged
Um,
according to classes.
I am not sure about that. Randomly arranged? No, I think all of them are week wise, right? All of yeah, that's what the team tells me. They were all arranged week wise only. I don't think why you have a problem in accessing it. But anyway, we'll check if there is a problem with the order. To
Yeah.
my best of knowledge, I don't think that's the case. But anyway, we'll verify.
Okay, ma'am. You should
But
verify.
as far as accessing is concerned, you shouldn't have a problem because that is easily available, freely available. If you have access to the dashboard, then the material should also be accessible.
Yeah, I have access of dashboard, but these are randomly arranged. That's why you should verify, ma'am, one time, please.
Okay, we'll check. That will check.
Ma'am, actually juxtaposition and oxymoron look like the same. Can you explain the major differences between them?
So they look the same They look the same because oxymoron is also a kind of juxtaposition. Okay. Uh,
Yes.
so juxtaposition is basically when two contradicting or opposing or conflicting ideas or situation is placed next to each other, right? So in the case of oxymoron, now the same thing you'll find in paradox, you'll also find the same thing in antithesis, right? So by that logic, then antithesis and oxymoron and paradox all could be
Um,
considered as subsets of
Antithesis looks like
juxtaposition.
a phrase.
Okay.
Yes.
What is it? Sorry.
Antithesis it look like simply we can identify it. It's look like such that is no pain no gain and something like that. We can easily understand, but we have to problem to detect the differences between oxymoron and juxtapositions.
Yeah, I'm coming to that. Okay.
Okay, ma'am.
So, see, when your contradictions are usually like a, an opposition of two words. Like, for example, say, bitter and sweet are quite conflicting and contradictory uh, words, right? So when I say the dreams were bittersweet, this is bittersweet is an example of an oxymoron, right? How is it different from a juxtaposition? In juxtaposition, the contradiction can be between, say, even two phrases or two situations or two conditions, right? But in case of oxymoron, it is always between two words. The contradiction is always between a pair of words, in this case, bitter and sweet. Okay. So when people say oxymoron, they are looking for a pair of words which have two opposing, words with two contradictory meanings put together. That is the exact difference between juxtaposition and oxymoron. Okay, they do both of them do the same function. Well, figuratively, they have the same function to perform, but form-wise they are different. Oxymoron is just a pair of two words which are in contradiction to each other, which does the function of what more or less juxtaposition also does. Okay,
Okay, ma'am.
yeah. Go through the examples. I think you'll understand it better then, right? So, with figures of speech, no, don't pay too much attention on the explanation and description part. Once you've understood it, then take a look closely at the examples here. That should help you.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. Right. Anyone else? Any other questions? That's all. You had no confusions with any questions for the quiz and all. So that's it. We don't have anything more.
Yes, ma'am. Nothing.
Okay. We'll wait for another few minutes. If you don't have any questions, then probably we'll just call it a day because we don't want to record blank sessions, right? If you have questions, please do come and ask us. We'll wait for a few more minutes. If you're not getting any other questions, then there's no point of waiting longer. So check if you have any and ask them. If not, we'll close in another few minutes. Okay?
Can you solve question number first, like passage questions right now by sharing screen for quiz one?
I don't have the questions at home now. No access to it. But what do you want to know from the passage questions? If you can tell me the questions, maybe you can try.
Okay, I'm finding.
Sure. Are you from English 1?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. And which question do you have a doubt with again?
Ma'am, I'm seeing paper, so I forget. That's why I'm seeing. I will
No, no,
see.
that's okay. I have the passage with me. I'm just asking you what question do you have a doubt with. There is a passage, right? So there's about, yeah, there are about 10 questions. So what kind of questions are you looking at? From what I see, there are questions on antonyms and questions in verb tense. Then there's also general comprehension questions like true and false. Yeah, that's all I think. These are the three categories of question that I see. So vocabulary, comprehension, and grammar. That's all.
Vocabulary.
Vocabulary, yes, you will have to. So see, the first question asks you dash is the antonym of the word morbid. So you need to have the passage in front of you. Go back to the passage, right? So from what I read here, I have back in the 1920s, my mother never went to a funeral if she could help it and was horrified when she heard of children being exposed to such an ordeal. And my father vanished from the room if that was mentioned. Very much later in the 1960s, when the publishers in which I was a partner brought out a beautiful and amusing book about the trappings of death, booksellers refused to stock something so morbid, right? This is the sentence. Long sentence, but um, not a very tough sentence, right? And the question here is, what is the antonym of the word morbid? Now, what is an antonym?
Opposite word.
Opposite, right? So now what you have to do is, from what I have read out to you, I don't know how much you've understood. If not, you'll have to read it to yourself. Others can also answer, right? If so, when you read that, what is the sense? If you had followed what I have read, if you had paid attention, right? What is the mood that the sentences give you? Forget about the word morbid for a while. Okay? Say we didn't have the word morbid at all. But what is the idea that you get from reading that sentence? So to begin with, is the author positive about uh, the part of attending funeral, or are they, or the author's feeling is negative about it, or is the person confused? What do you understand after reading that sentence? I'm just giving you suggestions how to look at these things. Okay, so this vocabulary question is not
Okay, ma'am.
something that we can immediately solve for you. I know the answer, but for you to train yourself in understanding, you'll have to, like I've told this before also, you'll have to read the sentences again and again, at least two, three times, and understand what is the context of those sentences. Like, is the author saying something good about it or bad about it? Right? Is the feelings positive or negative? So even if you do not understand what exactly the word macabre means, if you can guess this from the sentences given or the context given, then you can go ahead and mark the right answer from the options given, right? So here it says you have macabre, festive, gaulish, and grisly, right? So all the other, even if you do not understand what's the meaning of macabre or gaulish or grisly, if you still understand the meaning of the word morbid, little bit, not exactly, but if you understand what it means from the context, you can go ahead and mark festive because it's asking for antonym. Definitely, if it's about funeral, the person is not talking anything positive, right? So the word morbid is used there in that context to mean something negative. Okay, just keep this meaning. You don't have to know the exact meaning. Just know the secondary details of it, which we can guess from the context. The context very clearly tells you that, see, this is not anything positive that is being spoken about. The mother is petrified, the father is scared, and this person also believes that children should stay away from that kind of situation. So it's something negative that has been said, right? And in that context, the word morbid is used. And if you look at the options given there, even if you don't understand the meaning of macabre and ghoulish and grisly, you definitely know what festive means, right? That is easy for you. So an antonym of morbid, which is apparently a negative word that's used in that context, would be festive. So this kind of guesswork you can do. Every time you can't go to, not just for our exams, but if you're planning to take, say, other English tests, like, the TOEFL or IELTS or GRE for that matter, all of them have some English components, even GRE and GMAT does. So this is the only way you're going to answer the question, because it is impossible for us to learn the meaning of all the words available in English, right? So read through the sentence, figure out what the author is trying to say, look back at the options and see what is an obvious answer for you. Like what is
Ma'am,
obviously not the
suppose,
answer.
yeah, suppose if I have a confusion, like there was a question that I sent in chat. There was a word plagiarism, the synonym I need to find about this. So I have a confusion in option number one and option number second. So how I can know which is correct?
How will you know? So what is the meaning of the word synonym?
Similar word.
What- Similar meaning, not similar word. Synonym means
Yeah,
something that means
similar
similar
meaning.
to the given word. So plagiarism, if you're saying A and B, is copying and originality same? Do they have same meaning?
I think according to passage, second option is correct, ma'am.
This is also passage question.
Yes, ma'am.
Huh?
Yes, ma'am. I'm sharing also line from which line this ask.
Okay, okay, got it, got it. Okay, got the line. I cannot remember anything about it except that it was about a tiger and the tiger had chair-like feet. A good enough phrase. But I fancy the poem was a plagiarism of Blake's Tiger Tiger. At 11, when the war of, I wrote a patriotic poem. Okay, I cannot remember anything. So let's see. But I fancy the poem was a plagiarism of, no. In the context of the sentence that you have here, it cannot mean, you think the answer is second. Sorry. Uh,
But right answer is
Option
first.
B. Right
Yeah,
answer is A. Plagiarism means copying.
yeah. Can you read this line, ma'am?
Which, yeah, I just read out that one. So it tells you, no, see, I cannot remember anything about it except that it was about a tiger and the tiger had chair-like teeth, a good enough phrase. The poem was a plagiarism of Blake. So that means that this work is something that has preceded the author's work, right? So before the author wrote this poem, uh, Blake already wrote a poem called Tiger Tiger. That is the meaning that you should get from that sentence. Okay,
It
and
also
that is what the
that it is originated from the Black Tiger poem.
no, but where is it saying that it is originated? I fancy the poem was a plagiarism of Blake's Tiger Tiger. It's not that. It's basically saying that this person was inspired or has, taken uh, down the necessary idea from Blake's Tiger Tiger. That's what the sentence is. Okay.
Okay, right, ma'am. Got
So
it. Thank
there is something that is originally written. Originally, this work was done by Blake Tiger Tiger, and then the author wrote after that. Which is why the author thinks that I feel like this is a plagiarized work of Blake's Tiger Tiger or copied work from there. Okay,
you. Yes, right, ma'am.
yeah, that is why your answer would be copied. Okay, so read around. If you don't understand it in one go, try to read the sentence twice or thrice. Think about it, and also connect it to the overall, um, you know, uh, overall passage that you have, right? Because if you read the rest of the paragraph again, the author is talking about how, talking about his journey as a writer, right? So where did he start? How did he reach where he is? What were his early inspirations? How did he get to writing? When did the person know that she can write? So from this general understanding of the passage also, one can guess the answers. It's not difficult. Okay. And more importantly, please practice. Okay. Uh, Passage comprehension practices are very easily available online, right? So take something that is at the UG level and practice that, right? You need to do, which also tells me that if you're facing problem with reading passages, there's a lot of, or comprehension in general, there's a lot of work you need to do with respect to reading, right? If you don't read, you're not going to uh, get easy with these things, okay? And never ever focus on that one word and its meaning, because neither will you learn that word nor will you be able to answer the question correctly. Passage comprehension is basically for that exact reason, so that you can learn how contextually you can derive meanings rather than depending all the time on a dictionary or your prior knowledge of the meaning of the word. Okay? Please do that, and if you're able to do that practice for some time, it becomes easy for you later on. Okay, but please do practice.
Ma'am, can you suggest any book?
For reading comprehension, take any book and read. Anything that has English written, anything that's written in English, you can take up that and start reading for bettering your comprehension skills. Okay. So start with something that is not too tough and too difficult for you to look at. Start with short stories. Okay. Read both. Read short stories. Read also, say, editorials of newspapers, because they all help you to understand language in two different ways. One in the formal way and the other in the literary way. Right. So begin with short stories, general short stories. Like you can find them online also. You don't have to purchase books. There are easy websites which will lead you to nice stories, whether they're translated works or originally written in English, anything. Find them. Maybe on the discourse or discussion forum somewhere, we'll send you a few links where you can access this, right? Read them. Just spend at least half an hour reading them. Short stories won't take much time, so begin with them. And as you get a hold on that, then you can increase the uh, you know, either the number of pages, or you can also take up something that is more dense, right? Something that requires more attention and more um, concentration than, say, short stories, right? To begin with, do this. So we'll send you a few links on the Google group, the discussion forum that we have. Okay. Just so that we don't forget, maybe you, Monu, what you can do is you can just send in a request on the discussion forum, so somebody will answer to it. Okay, so that in case we forget, we don't lose that on. Just ask the same thing. Ask for the links to short stories under there, and you people will paste under that question. Okay.
On English discussion forum. Okay.
Yeah. English discussion. Okay.
Ma'am, I made a mistake in these questions. I was thinking that first option is correct. Yeah,
No,
about
how do you read the first word? It's read as fly. Ply. So fly, you have the I sound, no? Which is a diphthong. So it's fly, clay, by, and flew. Flew doesn't have a diphthong, so that's why that's the answer. You have I, A, and I again in by. So first three are all words with a diphthong.
how we will read first option ply.
Fly. Yes, fly. That's all. Okay. We have no more questions, then we'll meet again next week. And please send in that question for the short story and editorial links. Okay. It would be nice. If people who are interested, they can access and maybe start reading a little bit so that it helps you for your comprehension questions as well. Okay. All right. Then thank you. If you don't have any more questions, then maybe we can wind up for today. See you again next week.
Thank you.